Let's start this new series off with a bang. Welcome to What's the Best? What's the best Megatron that I own? I've made a horrible mistake. How the hell am I supposed to decide what's the best version of a character that has almost no set concept? Optimus Prime is a big truck. Starscream is a jet. Hot Rod is a hot rod. Megatron is a gun, a jet, a tank, a truck, a spaceship, a King Ghidorah, a drill, an Autobot, and probably your mother. I've got 6 figures here, none of which are even similar. How am I supposed to tell you which one hits the mark the best? Well, here goes nothing. Let's start small. Fuck you, this isn't technically Megatron. If this was someone's OC, please do not steal, they'd be sued. Anyways, this is a 2-decade-old figure. Oh my god. I bought this when it was new. Oh my god. Anyways, this is a 2-decade-old figure, so don't be shocked that it's kind of simple by modern standards. It's got knees, it's got elbows, it's got shoulders and ball joints, so it's not a total brick. Transformation would be dead easy if it weren't for the fact that I don't think this thing was designed to actually transform. Had the designers ever heard of parts clearance? Doesn't look great, turns into a tank with a squishy thing. I'm not even gonna leave you guessing till the end. This is not the best Megatron. Okay, Titans Return Megatron. Proportionately, he's a little goofy. And honestly, he doesn't have that many more joints in the previous figure, but this transformation is like 60,000 times more interesting, and the figure looks way more like Megatron is supposed to. And look, I don't like it when Megatron is not a gun. For me, gun Megatron makes total sense, and it's an interesting dynamic. Of course, a gun made out of an entire dude is more powerful than a gun you can just find lying around. Anyways, I hate how people are so stuffy now Megatron isn't allowed to turn into a gun, but you know what? If Megatron can't turn into the thing he's supposed to, him turning into both the other things he usually turns into is probably the next best thing. Rather than just a tank or a jet, he's a tank and a jet. And you know what? That may be Blitzwing's shtick, but it does work for Megatron. He makes a solid tank and a better jet. Headmaster gimmick is as much of a hindrance as it always was, but I can live with this. I do give this a thumbs up. Next up is Siege Megatron. Siege Megatron is honestly kind of lesser. Before you crucify me, let me explain. It's a parts former like Titans Return Megs, but it's not part of the gimmick. It also has a less fun transformation where it turns into an H-Tank, which is toy designer code for we gave up. Ta-da! While Titans Return Megatron turns into a significantly better looking, though still not perfect tank, and a jet. Now, I don't think that this tank mode is without merit. H-Tanks are more excusable on space tanks, and while not a perfect excuse, it is still something of an excuse. And the cyber stylization is cool. Also, the transformation is not horrible, but couple that with several weak joints, a bit more of a squat build that isn't in keeping with the character, and his elbows don't even work as well, which completely invalidates the gain of the ankle tilt, which is also honestly really annoying on this figure anyways, and yeah, I think the Titans Return comes out just a little better. Now to get into something a little more interesting. MMC Tyrantron, aka Autobot Megatron to everyone who read the comics. Can I just say, this is one of the most strikingly gorgeous figures in my collection. Just looking at this guy puts a smile on my face. I'm not big on paint, but this guy makes an argument for it. He looks like he jumped right off the page. Posability is technically good, but he's a little awkwardly proportioned, meaning he is more likely to topple over than you might expect, and his arms can look a bit dorky. I also had his hand snap off on me. It wouldn't bend like it was supposed to, and I knew if I kept trying, it would break, but what's the difference between a fist that won't bend because it will break, and a fist that won't bend because it's glued on? So I just kept pushing, hoping it would give, but the only thing that gave was the plastic. So now it's glued on. He comes with a boatload of accessories, enough to basically turn him into an entirely different version of himself. And he's got this little magnetic bit in the chest so he can wear Tarn's face. And that's just the coolest little bit of accessorizing I've ever seen. And you know, he just looks so good. Just from every angle, this is a handsome figure. The silver pops, the face is alive. And is it clear that I just don't want to talk about the next part? Because this transformation sucks. I have never felt like I had to do more work to achieve less. Every bit of this is bad. I'm on record for liking leg sliders, but these blow. They require way too much force to get moving, and undoing this is even worse. Then you've got the arms that barely transform. Then you've got to unpeg the back, which is one of those things that resists any attempt to move it whatsoever until suddenly it's free and you have to force yourself to stop moving before you rip the arm off. And it parts forms and it turns into this. It's a thing. It's a spaceship. It's a robot lying down on its face with a pointy hat is what it is. This is maximum unfun while achieving nothing. And now I have to undo this, so I hope you're all grateful for the sacrifices I make for you. Masterpiece Megatron. Fuck this thing. Look, this thing broke twice on me within a week of getting it, and there is just some rough work on it that I had to clean up with a knife myself. This thing was in fact so ripe with it that I was sure it was a knockoff, but I did everything I could to authenticate it, and it all checked out. Anyways, let's talk about the actual figure. God, I hate the look of this thing. The legs are like 5 times longer than the torso. Some people are going to point out this picture and be like, that's how long his legs are supposed to be. No, you idiot, the camera's at his feet. He's foreshortened to hell. Put the camera at your feet. You will look just like that. These are not what his proportions are supposed to be. They're what his proportions are supposed to look like if you were a tiny human staring up at a giant 30-foot robot. But he's not a 30-foot giant, he's a 10-inch figure. So instead, they just ruined the proportions because the designers apparently didn't know what foreshortening was. Terrible proportions aside, this would be a decent Megatron in the looks department. Head spot on, and if you stretch the torso, that would look right too. He also poses well. Got some forward butterfly, so he's got one of the most important joints to kick up your posability a notch. But let's just move on to the transformation now, shall we? Oh shit. I gotta do this on camera. Oh crap, it's gonna be so much harder that way. This isn't fun, guys. This isn't fun at all. This is a pain. This is a pain and a nightmare. Nothing cooperates. Everything is fiddly. The collapsing legs can suck my taint. They are Starship grade anti-fun. But hey, he turns into a gun, a Walther P-38. And to be clear, this is the correct alt mode. But this thing is really awkwardly proportioned, and keeping him displayed like this is kind of... well, he takes up a million miles of space, and you have to get like a specialized stand for him. Yeah, I don't know how many people are going to display him like this. And the transformation is just too much effort to flip back and forth between these two modes. All right, onto the, I think this would be pronounced Weijiang. Screw it, we're going straight America. Presenting the Weijiang Megamaster. So right off the bat, too big, guys, too big. Make it smaller. Some of you are going to scream heresy at that, but look, I want this guy to fit in with the rest of my Masterpiece line, and I don't want him to dwarf Optimus Prime. And I don't want to get an oversized MP Optimus, because that will dwarf other figures I don't want Optimus to dwarf. So I would have been much happier if they made it smaller. Contrary to Weijiang's typical MO, this isn't a knockoff. Well, the head is a knockoff, but everything else is their design. Immediately, we have fantastically better proportions. His breastplate is a little small, but that's a much better trade-off than the MP. He poses well, though he is missing the forward butterfly joints of the MP, so he is a slight downgrade in that department. Look at that back, though. Makes the chaos of the MP look like bad comedy. Joints are much better here, so he will hold a pose better. He is less likely to topple over, that's for sure. Alright, let's get to transforming this nightmare. What the hell? He's actually fun and easy? I mean, yeah, he's more complex than most Transformers, but this is not even half as hard as the regular MP. This is legitimately flip back and forth between modes fun and simple. And with that, we end up with this beast of a gun. And as hilarious as this sounds, with this being a much bigger figure and the MP already being too big, this is a much better proportioned gun, and it feels fantastic in my hands. Look, I have absolutely titanic hands. I have never met anyone in my life with bigger hands. Everyone who has ever been like, heh, you think you have big hands, has been like, oh, when we've compared them. Look at the size of his hands was literally the first thing ever said about me when the nurse saw them moments after I was born. I am not making that up. So this fits me great. It honestly comes across like a desert eagle in hand, which people tend to joke about being comically large, but I'm like, this fits me good. For you though, this probably feels ridiculously large. And it's definitely not quite the right look. Plus, it's got no barrel extension, and I got no time for that stupid tip laser beak. It literally only makes it look worse. So that's all the Megatrons I have, so which is the best? I think you can probably tell. Yep, it's Titan's Return Megatron. I'm not joking as much as you think I'm joking, but yes, it's gotta be the Weijiang. These may not be so cheap anymore, what with the Chinese government wrecking Weijiang, but when I bought this, it was $70. Hilariously enough, making it one of the cheaper figures, but I do know that these are commonly sold for $90. So yeah, this is kind of the best of all worlds. It's got the most accurate look, it's got great posability and a great transformation. There's some minor annoying bits, but nothing too bad. It's got a good gun mode, and it is turning into what Megatron is supposed to be, and it's cheap. Or at least it used to be. And if you want your figures big, he's bigger than most. Runner-up I have to have as a toss-up between the MMC and the Titan's Return. The MMC has one fantastic mode, while the Titan's Return has 3 good ones. Then I've got to go with the Siege Megs, just based on the fact that he's a little less brittle and a little less irritating of a figure to transform. Then the Masterpiece, with its $250 price tag and its easily broken materials. And the last one is this thing. Okay, so I haven't quite hammered out this new format yet. Next time I'm probably going to review these in order of where they place in the rankings. I'm also thinking about reviewing them all at the same time and going over individual categories like posability. So for instance, this one's posability is like this. This one's posability is like this. This one's posability is like this. Next up is transformation. This one's transformation is like this. This one's transformation is like this. This one's transformation is like this, etc., etc., etc. Adding a new step to this. You can follow me on Twitter. I don't know why you'd want to. I kind of suck at it right now and constantly forget to use hashtags, but I'll try and keep things updated there to keep you all better in the loop. Anyways, I know you know what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think might be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.